There you go. I'm going to edit this after. So if there's something in between, then don't be afraid.
I hate everything. Alright, Hyper, if you don't edit that out, like, I'm gonna kill you, man. It's gonna ruin my image.
I can also use it as an intro right now.
No!
Oh.
Don't do that!
Oh my god.
Oh, no. Let's try and start with something really sort of interesting, or maybe something like vague, like do you think there's a future for Werewolf Online at all? How long will Werewolf Online be
that's
around,
actually a
maybe?
that's actually a good question.
Yeah.
So I always wonder that myself as well, because I feel like they have gone they have chosen a specific direction this year, especially with like updating cosmetics a lot, but not like the gameplay. And I think a lot of people have lost interest in it. And I think like I feel like this game is not, the community is good, but I don't think the essence of the game is so strong anymore as it used to be. And like I don't know any alternatives, honestly. Yeah, you have Town of Salem, of course, and you have some other games, but I don't know any alternative that is really rising right now. But if there would be, then Werewolf Online would definitely go down. And I think this genre is always going to be popular to some extent.
Well, I totally agree, but I mean, like I guess I just play Werewolf Online as a pastime now. Like, usually I'm like on my doing stuff on my like computer stuff, but when I'm not there, like when I'm just relaxing, I just have a game like just to play like while I'm like bored or something. That's where Werewolf Online comes in, just play Werewolf Online pretty much.
Well, I think when you're talking about is there anything new coming to Werewolf Online, and maybe that might be the reason why there's less of a future for it. It's not. I don't think it's got so much to do with whether anything new is being brought in, but whether what it already has is being done well to a point where it's going to encourage new players to continue to play. So, and if the player base is visibly dropping, people are very fickle. People are just going to quit the game, not because they're getting bored of the game, but because there's not enough people playing anymore. They haven't seen it to be popular, so they'll just leave. And I'm not saying that that's completely the current state of Werewolf Online, but
yeah,
of course, like as you said, there's absolutely no real new content being added apart from cosmetics.
Yes,
there's no new modes, which of course, like we would like to see new modes, or like to see certain modes revamped, which I'm sure that we'll get into later. But essentially, if you're not actively advertising or not actively making different steps to try and bring new players in, then the ultimate result is player base will drop. It's going to be the same thing, and people think, well, this game's not as popular anymore. Maybe I'm just going to stop playing it.
Yeah, that's also where I think the PC version would come into play, because like that Werewolf Online it has like, it is quite accessible with the phone, and you can use it you can emulate it with BlueStacks, of course, but it's like you see those games like Among Us recently that has really skyrocketed. I don't know if that game is going to have a really bright future either, but it's like if Werewolf Online would also be a solid game on the PC and maybe even on a console, but I don't know if that's going to work out really well though. But then I would say like maybe it has a bright future.
If someone popular plays Werewolf Online, I'd say it will blow up, because that's exactly how Among Us blew up, right? Some popular streamers started playing Among Us, and then like everyone started playing Among Us. But before that, it wasn't popular at all. Like not many people were playing it.
Should we then maybe just try to find a popular streamer, get close to them, and advertise this game to them?
Well, I think if you're going to do that, and I've trust me, I've thought a lot about this before actually, because of course right now influencers and Twitch are absolutely massively shaping the gaming market. You've got Among Us and what was the other one, the Marshmallow one, where people run around, Fall Guys. Yes. Blowing up. But like take a look further at what's happening on Twitch, like chess. Like I've been playing chess for the last couple of weeks. I've been really enjoying it. Chess like blew up. It's a centuries old game, and yeah, it blew up because like some popular streamers, namely like XQC and some other chess Twitch streamers decided to play it. But the thing is about all of these games is they were accessible and they can entertain their audiences. And for Werewolf Online, we've only recently started to come up with ways to make them easier on the eyes for people who are watching live streams. There's no way that you could possibly ask a creator to say, hey, would you like to stream Werewolf Online? Because I think Werewolf Online with viewers or Werewolf Online in general would definitely be fun.
Yeah, definitely.
It's Twitch stream to do.
It's a really good game if you look at that, because you can just, it's easy to chat. You can just play it with your phone. It's free. Like, the only thing is that you would have, like, if you would play like custom games, that would be probably the best mode to do, because then you can decide who is playing and who's not. And you can make it really easy in custom games as well. But it's like, it would be necessary to make it like accessible from the beginning then.
Well, at the end of the day, streamers want content as well, and Werewolf Online can absolutely provide that. Like things where you're like, oh my goodness, like I've just been killed as the jailer. The gunner just shot me. Like this is the worst thing ever. Like I know, like my viewers really enjoy that stuff. They find it hilarious, and like
so
big streamers could totally, totally show that off.
Yeah,
just
that's
for the
true.
content. But the point that I was trying to make is that you can't just, these streamers are on a schedule, they're busy. You can't just say to them like, okay, do you want to stream some Werewolf Online? Here's an overlay. Here's how you make it look a bit better. Here's like all these things that you need to do and rearrange in your screen. And also sometimes it'll crash on BlueStacks, and also it'll have bugs. Also the music will fail sometimes. And also, you might get banned for doing something funny on stream, because realistically, like that's what a lot of them would do. They'd do something like, haha, I just shot someone with a gun, and they'll just get banned straight away. Like, of course, that does kind of need to happen, but there is that roadblock. So essentially, like, it's not like a new little fun mini game on stream where they could download it, immediately start playing it, and entertain their stream. And so it's just completely impossible to pass that road, I think.
So you would say, like, make it more popular for Twitch, basically.
Well, I think a lot needs to change about the game. Like absolutely so much.
Yeah,
but,
there is so much, yeah.
The real thing is, as you've said, a PC version. And if it's like as it is just as a mobile game, it's not accessible at all. But if it was a free to play Steam game, so many people would be downloading this, because it's just something fun to play with friends. It's like Among Us. Like you can jump on there, you can get into a quick game with your friends, and you can play the game. People would do it. Like people are sitting at their homes extremely bored right now. Yes. And it's a real missed opportunity, I think.
And I think that this game is actually providing more content, more different kind of plays than Among Us even. So it would definitely have potential to do that.
We could touch on the Werewolf Online Among Us topic. Maybe.
Yeah, because I know that the Philip, the developer of Werewolf Online, of one of the developers, he is working on a new game, I think. Recently, he actually made a poll in the Werewolf Online Discord for asking what the name of the game should be. Or
very interestingly, it's gone now, that poll. So it's like you start to think maybe he didn't want to stir up too much.
I don't know if Philip would be okay with that, honestly. It's like, I know that he allows me to share his things.
It's obvious they're working on a new game. He said like, I mean, I think that we can even, I think that that's extremely necessary for us to talk about.
If he is working on another game, which he is, at least that's what I assume. Maybe not at this very moment, but he is generally working on another game. That would also, of course, explain why he is spending less time into Werewolf Online at the moment.
Well, yeah, I was absolutely gonna say that. Like, I mean, ever since August, I think, when I tried to get in touch with Philip, I think he was on holiday at that time. But from the amount of activity, and he is the sole core developer of Werewolf Online, as far as I'm aware. But that means that when we don't see any real new content or changes coming into Werewolf Online, he's either working on something like huge, no pun intended, for the game, or he is working on something else. And we have to remember that Werewolf Online is a relatively passive income for him. He doesn't have to do anything, which means that he can totally channel those resources into making something which he feels could be far bigger and greater than Werewolf Online. So, and if it's related to the game, then for us, that's great.
Yeah, that would be absolutely
I totally
amazing.
agree with that.
Do you think that if there would be like this Werewolf Online X Among Us kind of game, because I think that is like the thing he wants to go with. At least he wants to make a werewolf related team game. But if he would go with this app, would you think that a lot of the people who are playing Werewolf Online would go to that game as well, and then maybe even abandon Werewolf Online? Would that really hurt Werewolf Online as the app, or would people still be playing Werewolf Online and the other game?
Well, I guess if this game got like more, you know, if Philip made like another game, I guess like Among Us. Well, I mean, not many people would play that because there's already the main game, which Among Us. So of course they would not go for any clones or anything. They want to go for like the original game.
Yes.
And of course, Werewolf Online basically, I think it came out after Town of Salem. Town of Salem was like 2016, and like Werewolf Online's got lots of similarities to it. But I'd say Werewolf Online is like very much simpler in comparison.
Essentially, this might be a bit of a strong opinion to have, but I think if Philip was working on a Werewolf Online Among Us kind of amalgamation, it would be absolutely a massive blunder. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of resources, and it's not going to succeed, basically. And you see this from anyone who tries to really work on clones.
That's true.
Of popular games like Fortnite. Try and make another version of Fortnite. Has it worked? No, it hasn't. Yeah, Fortnite, okay, did something that was different to, for example, PUBG, which was also another popular battle royale game. But that's if he's going to go down that route, what he would need to do, or if he's working with a bigger team, what they would need to do is do something which takes like a huge twist on it. And if you haven't originally got that idea that can just twist it in a way that makes it so different, and doesn't, as long as it can make people feel like they're not playing Among Us, they're playing, Wolves United or whatever it was, whichever one it was that won. Yeah, I think that perhaps people would play it. But I think for the most part, if it was anything like Among Us, if only, it can be in the same genre, but Werewolf Online's already in the same genre, so it can't really be too much like that game at all. Otherwise, yeah, you wouldn't tap into the market. People like playing Among Us, and they won't switch off of that, I think.
Well, but people associated it with Werewolf Online, and I guess if you made another social deduction game which is better than Werewolf Online, then obviously they would want to try and play that.
I think if the truth is that it's trying to do something that's already been done, then it's certainly it does make it a bit difficult. And I think the whole reason why, and this will bring it back to PC gaming again, Hyper, because I mean it's relevant. It's like the whole reason why perhaps the game I'm No Demon wouldn't have taken off as much as Among Us is because it's not on Steam as far as I'm aware. So it's like the streamers aren't going to tap into that. They're not going to start playing it, and so
because
you miss out on that.
Yeah, it's obvious that streamers have nowadays a really big impact or huge impact, and people don't like to stream on the mobile. Like maybe starting streamers, but I don't know any professional streamer, and with professional, it's not like I don't want to offend anyone or so, but like a big streamer.
You're aiming that at me?
No. I know it's not you. It's not you. But there are people.
Is a mobile community.
I know there's people who do it, but it's like usually phone streams are not of the highest quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know any professional streamer who does stream on phone.
Any of the big names on Twitch,
yeah.
they aren't watched because, although mobile gaming is a bigger market than PC gaming, actually in terms of revenue, it's not nearly as watched on YouTube and on Twitch, etc. And that's just simply because the content doesn't look good.
Yeah,
it's not 1920 times 1080, and if you don't have that, then get out, basically.
Yeah, and also,
and we can try and fix that all we want, but people aren't going to start making these games.
I think it's also more difficult to edit a proper video on just a phone. Like on a PC, you have like really good edit software. Usually, it costs like a lot of money, or you have to somehow crack it. But I don't know anything for the phone. Like you always get some sort of watermark, or you have to buy premium for only little amount usually, but it's still limited in terms of editing. And then the videos are just not gonna be as good usually as videos that are made with like edit software on a PC.
It's processing power. That's the only issue.
Yeah,
basically,
processing
you won't ever
power.
get anything that's good because you can't process enough to render. That's just not how it works, I believe.
Yeah, maybe.
So the takeaway from that is that mobile games are not going to blow up any time in the future. So if that's what Philip wanted to aim for, it's not. Or,
Gonna work.
we keep name dropping Philip, but let's just go with Werewolf Online devs. If the devs wanted to aim for that, that's not not putting it on PC is a blunder, basically.
Yeah, it has been like a really good game at some point in 2019. It really was a popular game. I don't know if you played already by that time, but it's like somewhere in 2019 it was the #1 app, most downloaded app in Thailand for a few weeks. That's at least what Philip told me, and that was above apps like WhatsApp and Facebook. So it was actually really popular at some point. I also see that's also something that I noticed really a lot, definitely in my channel stats, because I sometimes look at that, is that a big audience from Werewolf Online comes from Southeast Asia. And I think that it's also maybe an interesting thing to consider this app.
Because they're mostly a mobile audience in Southeast Asia,
Yeah,
compared to America. Compared to America, where there's mostly PC users, mostly in Asia, because they don't have access to PC. They go for mobile, which is better.
You have to forgive me for doing this. But literally just as as we were talking about this, I got really interested. So I went into Google Translator, and I went English to
Vietnam?
I went English to Thai, and I typed in Werewolf Online, and I've actually just seen a video that has 500,000 views, and that was made by, I think, a Thai streamer who has 3 million subscribers. You look at stuff like that, and then maybe he made more than one of these videos. Now I'm looking, there's plenty of them, and they're all receiving quite a lot of views. This is just it, if you and his videos, he must be like a mobile streamer or something, which comes back to what you were saying. There aren't that many mobile streamers, but if they are, they're not in the West, that's for sure. So we're not going to see it. But maybe Werewolf Online has just been way bigger in Asian countries than we even know about. Just looking at this, really interesting.
I think I'm pretty sure it has indeed been. Like, if I would just go to my stats, I know that 10% of my watchers are actually from Vietnam, and I know some other Southeast Asian countries, like I think Thailand as well, are also really high. Singapore, Malaysia, I think as well. It has been a really big app over there. I think it's still a really big app, but I just want to know, why is it like, that's purely the gap with PC and mobile gaming, I think.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. But I think in the West it's really important to bridge that if that's the market you're going for. But it's a pretty international game, so
yeah, it's an international game.
Well, it's something that I think the developers consider that we actually don't as well. There is that. There's so much actually probably going on behind the scenes that we don't know about to consider. Like, if they're working on a new game, it could be for a multitude of reasons that we don't even know about. Like, there could be a new trend that they're hopping onto that isn't among us that like they're going for. They could be making a massive multiplayer online role-playing game or something like that with a huge team of we never know, basically.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe they could be the developers of the future. It's possible.
They could be actually developing what we're actually talking about right now, like actually making the PC version, or I don't know, maybe just adding new roles. They might actually be just doing this or as we speak.
It could be true. I don't think so. I think they would also take a break around this time, but
well, true. Right now, probably. I would make an important point from now, which is, for one of the things that I think is affecting the player base, because the player base is very involved on Discord and it's very involved on social media, and they, a large amount of people that do regularly play Werewolf Online are watching social media. Something that I think everybody would appreciate is more communication from the developer and more communication about what's being worked on, and perhaps it's
Just more
something that we're not
transparency.
supposed to know about. Yeah, transparency, really, really important, because of course we have really, really active mods on Discord, which is great, but the mods, and I'm assuming the mods don't really work that closely on the development of the game, if at all. And therefore, like, we have no idea what's actually going on with Werewolf Online until it just comes out like, hey guys, here's a new feature. And that's fun. Like, it's like, whoa, new thing. But like, sometimes it's
Surprise.
actually so yeah, but sometimes it's actually really good to drum up hype about something new that's coming out, a new role. I'm releasing a new role called Marksman, and it's coming out next month. And people are thinking, oh yeah, I can't wait for this new role. What's it going to be like?
Yeah, people are going to speculate about it as well if you do that.
Yeah, it drums
Yeah,
up
also-
excitement, keeps people playing.
Yeah, I've been looking at the Werewolf Online story like a while ago, and I think about the future, the exclusion of roles in the random air thingy. Philip actually shared like what he was actually doing, like how he was like putting screenshots of him like coding like this part, and then like people were like speculating like how is this actually going to work? Like how much roles can you exclude from one random, like for example, like people were speculating about that because he posted it on like social media on the story.
I've never seen that actually, but
I didn't see it either.
you haven't
That's
seen it
cool,
either.
But yeah, I mean that's really cool, and I think that more stuff like that would, I mean, to bring it back to the topic of the podcast, which is of course the future of Werewolf Online, I think to align it more with what you expect from developing companies of video games, to know what's coming or to have a little bit more hype being worked up over things that are coming would be really, really cool. And maybe nothing's being worked on, we don't know, but like if there is things being worked on, it would be really cool to know.
I think it's also
that as well.
If you create those hypes and stuff, and I don't know if one role is just enough to create hype for, like maybe if it's
Certainly something at least.
like, I would say like a role, like for the last update, for example, there's only been one update so far with roles in this year, but I don't expect to see another update tomorrow or so. But
All of a sudden.
yeah, all of the sudden, typical Werewolf Online fashion. But
Hey guys.
like, if you would pick the last update, I don't think a role like Loudmouth would be worth hyping. But maybe the Bandits, for example, that would be maybe already enough to hype up. Like,
Well,
there's
the question
this
is,
difference.
does it like hype up the audience though? Because it only hypes up like people who've just been playing the game for fun. Like let's say sandbox players, of course, they want to see, oh, new role, let's play the new role, right? I think we should be drifting away from what the developers should do. What developers, and of course, I guess biggest topics, I guess for me would be new roles. What roles should actually be added into the game? How will it actually change the game? That's one thing I actually think about when I'm creating the roles. How is this actually going to change the game?
Yeah, that's actually what I noticed with your two roles. I think you have two roles so far, right? In the game, like Marksman and Berserk.
Yes.
So those roles, I would say those roles are like actual game changers. Especially Berserk, of course, because if you have like any protectors, people have to dodge the frenzy.
Exactly.
And Marksman is, in my opinion, just a better gunner. Better as in not stronger, obviously, but gunner is just too broken, I would say. And the Marksman is
Definitely,
just
yeah.
a good one.
Definitely, yeah. It I guess whatever gunner is like really like broken, really bad for, I guess, is what Marksman kind of improves with gunner. Like
Yes.
for example, in a Gold League with the full gunner headhunter Marksman interchange, it kind of balances other roles as well that could be in the game. Because of course, if you had like a headhunter and a gunner in the same game, of course, people can exploit the fact that the gunner can simply just shoot their target and win the game. But you
Yeah.
can't actually do that with a marksman because the marksman can't actually shoot their target because they're a villager.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, new roles, good stuff, very nice to have. But as you said, like one role at this point isn't always going to drum up new hype. It will drum up hype for existing players, but for players who are just kind of getting into Werewolf Online and need to sort of be retained, because I'm sure like hundreds of thousands of people download Werewolf Online every month. Those people need to have like just more stuff that's going to help them get that's going to help them stay involved with Werewolf Online and continue to playing the game.
Yeah, I think it's also how I look at updates. That's also why I want to see modes instead of new roles. Is because I feel like roles, if you add 6 roles, it's gonna be fun for a few weeks, but after that, it's just integrated. Those people who just started playing it, they are probably still needing all the time to get used to all of the roles, and the people who have already been playing for a long time, 6 roles is not that many. That will just you will know how it works after a few weeks. So a game mode would be like huge. That would, and no pun intended, but a game mode would be could really hype up the game again. But it would need to be a good game mode, of course, not like another kind of casual mode. It would be like, yeah, well, we could talk about it right now. Like, what kind of game modes would you like to see?
Well, I was really looking forward to this segment actually, and I've definitely got something quite big that I want to talk about. I was thinking about talking about it on my own videos or something, but I think actually doing it here is way more. I'm not going to try and manhandle your video and sort of pirate it, jump aboard and say, oh, I'm taking over. But there's something to do with new roles, or specifically ranked, that I don't know, we might have even talked about before. I've definitely talked about it with some people. For me, I kind of feel like the Werewolf Online setup right now isn't really conducive to competitive gameplay, and it's not really conducive to getting people to continue playing other than just something fun to do with your friends. You're either a hardcore ranked player realistically, or you are someone who's playing for fun.
Yes.
And the setup of quick play, sandbox, ranked just doesn't really seem to work. And the reason is that quick play, as we all know, isn't really balanced. It's just something kind of fun to do, but it doesn't really teach you how to play a game that's continuously playable and doesn't get frustrating. So, for example, quick play, we know, is filled with people who have absolutely no clue about how to play the game.
Or trolls.
Or trolls, you can do
people.
essentially anything you want to do in quick play, which gives you it gives you 2 choices. Play with trolls and play with people who have no idea how to play the game, or play hardcore ranked, and it just doesn't really make sense, right?
Yeah, because if you would take the hardcore ranked thing and you're just new, there are definitely people who are trying to do that, just grind as much as possible in the beginning and just so that they can get to ranked easily. Like, you need 100 wins, I think, nowadays to get to ranked, right?
Which isn't really that fun either. When you're said, because a lot of people want to get into start playing a new game and they realize there's a ranked thing and they're like, oh, I want to be really good at this straight away. And then if you're told you need to win 100 games, i.e. you have to play 200 games to get involved with that action and like even start playing the game where it's balanced, because that's what ranked is, let's be honest. Like, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
It does remove a certain element of players who are unskilled. But at the same time, it doesn't make any sense, because people will very often quit way before that landmark.
Yeah, it's like I know where they did the 100 wins. Of course, they want that was just to like guarantee some sort of level. But if the 100 wins is so difficult to reach, then people are they're just gonna invite their friends and they're gonna do farms, and that's also an issue that I have with the game, but that's maybe just personal. But people are gonna do farms, and they still
XP farms
and if people just do farms, they still don't learn anything. People just give away their roles and they give the village a win.
Well, in my experience, I once made a new account, and this was when it was 35 wins to start playing ranked again. And I consider myself already someone who wanted to play competitively for Werewolf Online. And I made a new account. I have to admit it. It was because of lack of knowledge, and it's because I believed there was an MMR system in Werewolf Online, and I believed myself to be kind of hard stuck because I didn't think I was getting very much skill points. So I was like, that's it. I'm going to make a new account, and that's it. I'll have a fresh start because I think that I'm a stronger player now than just low bronze, silver. So I made a new account, and I found it an absolute drag to get through those 35 games, and that's fair because it stops people doing stuff like smurfing. But smurfing isn't really an issue in Werewolf Online because it's hard to win games anyway because you're a professional. Like, you're still gonna lose because you get shot.
Tell that to me. I'm the master smurf. I'm the master smurf, believe me.
Okay, well, well, regardless of that, the point is 35 games for me, regardless of whether it should or should not have been a drag for making a new account, it was a real drag. And to get through 100 of those games, where realistically we know that quick games can get very, very frustrating, it doesn't make any sense.
Then even to think that like quick game is, people are so, not everyone pays attention or just plays at their best. So what I noticed also in my comment sections, but this is a bit off topic, I think, but that is that people who don't like Headhunter or Fool are mostly quick game players, because Headhunters and Fools really win often in quick game, and that if they win so often, that means that there's just one player of 16 that wins. So that makes it even more difficult to get like 100 wins in quick game. And in Sandbox it's also possible. I think it also counts towards the 100 wins, but yeah, that's a different story, I think.
Yeah, and you are just, by doing all of that stuff and by denying people the chance to play the balance of ranked, you're essentially blocking off a whole load of new players from experiencing something in your game. And a game, for example, like League of Legends does not do that. It gives people a chance to play the actual game as it's played in ranked, but it doesn't count. So here's the proposition. Basically, I had an idea, and I'll just lay it out quickly. You can keep it in if you want to or not. But essentially, quick games, it's time for quick games to truly become quick games. They help you get used to the game, have a bit of fun, play with friends, don't take the game seriously. Then we should have normal games. It should be legacy ranked, as it was, as ranked is, but it doesn't count. So it's faster, it's less serious version of normal ranked. People shouldn't throw, otherwise they will get banned. But they also don't need to worry about, trying out new strategies, because it doesn't count towards skill points. It doesn't have any effect on people. And also, people can get used to playing ranked before they actually have to dive into ranked.
Yes.
So
practice, right? Like Town of Salem also have ranked practice, which means it's like you have to let's see, summon a certain amount of games that you have to play like in a ranked based environment, but doesn't actually, you need to qualify first before you can play the actual rank.
Totally. I mean, calling it ranked practice is kind of a failure on the marketing side, because ranked practice just makes it sound like, oh, you're not really doing anything real, you're just in practice mode. Nobody really wants to play practice mode. So labeling it as a normal game is like saying, this is balanced Werewolf Online, have fun with this. You should be able to win if you're good enough, and then you can go and have a go at ranked afterwards if you win enough of those games. But winning quick games realistically has absolutely nothing to do with being able to play ranked, and that's where the frustration of new players in ranked comes from. It's actually got nothing to do with how many games you've won in quick game. It's simply, yeah, sure, you get used to the roles, but other than that, you have no idea how ranked is really supposed to work.
Yeah, the strategy and the kind of strategies that is also in both different in the different game modes, they're totally distinct. That's at least what I've noticed. And people also have different perceptions. That's something I talked about in a different video way earlier in this year. But people have different perceptions of how the game should be. And like I know that in ranked, definitely in higher ranked, things like roll calls early game, and like Sect probably. You gotta know Sect.
Who's that? I've never heard of that guy. Who's that guy?
He has like this crazy mind. He knows who is evil on the second day if people are playing normal, like if they don't game throw, then he knows who's evil.
I've played Town of Sin ranked before, and I've seen lots of people with the same mindset. They know who the evils are on day 2.
That is like the problem, that some people don't like roll calls, and they think like, oh, there's the seer in the game, let's rely on the seer, let's not do anything, let's be passive players, and
as a ranked player, that's not not really my mindset, because you're literally relying on one person. It's not really deduction anymore when you can just click on one player and say, oh, he's Werewolf, right? So there you go. I'm the only person giving you info. You're relying on me, so I'm just giving you all the werewolves. Easy game. I don't see why you're having fun on that.
Yeah, that's also what I wanted to bring up, because there are actually people who do enjoy that, and that is like not I would say that's not the thing of what a deduction-based game should be. That's also why I'm against roles like Gunner and Seer and Pacifist as well.
Yeah. Yes, I think that stuff like info faking and as a werewolf, like doing things like info faking and trying to get gunners to shoot incorrectly and stuff makes that role more balanced. That
is what info is supposed to be. You're not supposed to have one player giving you all the information. Multiple players giving information and seeing which one you actually trust is the real information. That's what info should be.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Then of course it doesn't help that Seer and Detective are like not an RRV but an RSV. I understand why they do that, but it's like it would not work out. It doesn't really work out well in ranked, in my opinion. But
it can work RSV. I of course you've seen some of my setups use RSVs, so I guess in some work, but I the setups, I guess it might be too broken. So yeah. I mean, it's just seeing if it's like going to balance the game or not, pretty much.
It's incredibly difficult to balance things that are random, that's for sure. But yeah, obviously having more control over which roles in the game actually makes a lot more sense. And I actually kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit, if it's okay, like to do with like new modes, because I know that like Felneus and I had a discussion a little while back, and it kind of gave me like a huge brainstorm. And so I'd actually be pretty eager to see what people like in comment sections and stuff would say about this. But I had an idea based off of something that Felneus brought up, which is essentially a pre-game phase in ranked. If you were to change ranked, you could have a pre-game phase.
Oh yeah, draft mode.
And exactly, yeah. So you'd have the pick and ban phase. You'd have werewolves choosing which wolves to go with, basically, or which wolves to definitely not get, or they could even choose a wolf, and the wolves would get to talk about their strategy for maybe 60 seconds before the game starts. Villagers would also get to cast votes on who they want to ban out of the game. For example, it's pretty obvious to get rid of Forkman, maybe.
Yes.
But sometimes you want to use Forkman to like bait things, so you never know about that. But yeah, pretty obvious you'd maybe choose a certain random villager. But you could always choose certain setups, like do we want to play with marksman and have a headhunter and risk having a headhunter, or would we rather have a fool and have a gunner instead? So stronger gun, but also more danger from the fool, stuff like that. Having that sort of little period before the beginning gives wolves more chance to make the game more detailed, and it also adds way more strategy into it rather than just being like, oh, it's random, we got these rolls, what are we going to do with them?
Well, I think that's a bad idea because of course if we use like the pick and ban system, for example, as you just explained, then of course there's going to be some things that people won't be able to do anymore, because of course people are like, okay, I hate full gunner, so let's not play full gunner ever, and let's just keep playing headhunter marksman, for example.
Yeah,
or like people like, that role is just terrible. Like let's just remove it from every single game, because screw that role, right? Like no one wants to play with a Forkman, or like get rid of him, for example.
Yeah, I mean there's a problem with like removing random roles, I think, and also giving villagers like the freedom there is not so great. But I think you definitely agree with the werewolf thing, right?
Well, because the werewolves always choose the strongest one, right? According to the current meta. So they like say, oh, Guardian Werewolf it has to be the strongest one, right? They're gonna pick Guardian Werewolf every single game, and it'll be kind of really obvious.
True, very true. But sometimes shamans can be really popular. If you had two shamans, can you imagine what would happen there?
Yeah,
you could definitely come up with some strategies. to do that. Make yourself look a little bit suspicious. Maybe you don't claim anything as the werewolves, and then, or I don't know, focus in on the villagers who didn't claim something with shamans. Who knows? Who knows?
I think that if you have like, if you would pick like 2 shamans and to the werewolves or to the villagers, it would not appear. It would always say there are 2 random werewolves in the game, for example. And if you can have a draft phase and gather all up with the werewolves and decide on what 2 werewolves are gonna be in the team, then 2 shamans can actually be a real surprise, because people might expect something else, and then the shamans actually have a really good chance to manipulate the game.
Yeah.
So I think that with the werewolves, it could still work really well. And you could always say, like, that's a suggestion that I have seen from Sir Felneus, is you could always say, like, make a few options possible and then just rotate them, so that you can never really get you can't get the same roles in every single game because of like specific preferences in the community.
Well, I think ranked has to be based on like it has to have like one like a specific setup that is like the most balanced like universally, and then people have to like get used to that. That has to be like the main. But then of course there's like Platinum League, for example, where it has like unique roles in the game that people don't usually play on the other leagues. Like for example, you've probably seen the Cursed Sorcerer setups, Cupid setups. Like you don't see that in other modes, because only there's a different meta with the most elite players. They have their own way of playing, and basically it's just all about adapting that to new setups. But for the most part, we want to test players' skill, and that's why Gold League has the most balanced setup. And
well, I think what you're saying is true, that the pick and ban phase kind of thing would mess with balance a bit. But I think that that's the desired outcome, actually. I think because it adds more randomness to the ranked games, it's like, oh my goodness, like we lost this pick and ban phase because we forgot to ban the Werewolf Berserk, and then when we didn't ban Werewolf Berserk, we then just proceeded to jail a gunner. Like, what were we thinking? We're such idiots. Or like, you know, it adds that extra element of like meta, things that you should choose to avoid being at a disadvantage once you head into the game. A pick and ban phase shouldn't just be there for... It shouldn't just be there for the hell of it. It should be there like you actually have to think about what you're going to do. Otherwise, you'll pretty much like be at a disadvantage throughout the entire game. I think it adds like an extra layer.
But then again, think about it. So like, if they got screwed last game, but oh yeah, we didn't ban Werewolf Berserk. That means we jailed Gunner, and then they both died, right? So then what we're gonna do next game? Of course, we're gonna keep banning Werewolf Berserk.
Yeah, but then you don't have two. Then you have 2 alpha werewolves in the game, and then there's a fool, and then you start shooting the alpha werewolves, and before you know it, you've lynched the fool, and it's the end of the game. There's endless possibilities, surely. But I'm not saying that it's like be all and end all, something that I really want to see in the game. I just think that it's a slight interesting idea for spicing up ranked, basically, because there's definitely a need for that. I think
it really depends on what you want to go with ranked. If you want to have like. If you want to make it like chess and have like always the same pieces, then the idea of Sir Felneus is definitely the best, because obviously you want to have one setup.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. Yeah, I think the draft like a new game mode altogether. Actually, that's my opinion. The draft should be a new game mode, because I think ranked players should be able to play with any single role. Like depending, like if there's a Forkman in game, they should know how to play with. If there's a Forkman in game, or if there's a Werewolf Berserk in game, they should know how to play with that. They shouldn't be allowed to like just say, okay, let's just not play with a Werewolf Berserk Gunner every single game. So ranked players should basically be able to play with every single role. But I think that the drafting idea is a very good idea. I think it has potential to become a new game mode.
And people will play what they enjoy, right? So essentially,
I don't think I also don't think
more people play that.
Just a point that I want to make clear for the viewer. Maybe you could say like, oh, people are not going to be interested if there's a draft phase because it takes so long. But I don't think that's going to be like an issue at all, because the people who really want to play competitively will probably feel okay to spend some time on drafting every single game, because
if it makes them more interesting, then they're gonna do it.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like if we would have like this ranked mode, this high ranked mode, that would just be like one setup that Sir Felneus suggested, and this draft mode, that would be a separate mode. Would you think that would work out? Would that both be popular enough to like run properly, or would it both get too few players to actually run?
Well, I think that I think there's real danger for the developer of putting too many modes in the game, because I'm not sure how it works, but I think that there's probably issues with stuff like servers. You have to dedicate certain servers to running certain types of games, and the more servers that you have running one mode means that you can't have them running another mode, so you have to constantly monitor it and tell who is playing, how many people are playing this ranked mode and the other ranked mode, and then you have to try and figure out how many servers to dedicate to it. I don't know if that's really how it works.
I know that Town of Salem has this thing called rotating game modes, in which there is like loads of modes in Town of Salem, but actually only one of them gets featured every single week. So like Werewolf Online, of course, Quick Game has its rotation, so you play a different setup every week. But Town of Salem has this thing where there's a different thing every single week. So one week it could be like there's 4 lovers or something, and then in the next week there's a president or something, and you have to protect it. Like it rotates every single week.
That's actually,
I'm not sure if that's like a good idea.
I wanna go into that, because when I talked with Philip in a DM about Gamemodes, because he wanted me to make a video about that as well, he suggested himself that he would make a game mode next year with themes. So in Christmas we would have specific roles, and the battle pass would also connect to that game mode and that theme. So around Christmas you would get a battle pass regarding Christmas, and there would be Christmas roles and stuff like that, and there would
and the battle pass only counts. The battle pass only counts for that game mode alone, right?
Yeah, I think something like that.
And they would have to play that game mode.
He also mentioned something with tickets.
And that would also get rid of the problem of the custom XP farms, because people would only be able to get the battle pass by playing this specific game mode, which would encourage them to play this game mode.
Only danger there is, of course, that people are going to start their XP farms in that game mode, and that would totally ruin the whole game mode maybe. But that would be like a danger that I cannot foresee at this moment. Maybe one of you can, but I don't know if that would really happen. As long as they would like not make it if they would make it impossible to invite friends to that lobby, I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
totally
personally not really
yeah.
sure. I'm really not really sure what the benefit of it all is, other than just adding something a little bit new for the regular players.
Yeah, that would be it. That would be
if you already have a dwindling player base, stuff like that just adds like for variation doesn't really make much sense, I think. But I still think that it's good though. I think it's absolutely brilliant for players who just want to like have a little bit of interesting stuff to play, especially as like, you know, the majority of the player base realistically plays the game to talk to their friends, and you know, buys the cosmetics, likes to do the dress up stuff, and to have something a little extra to do on the side, like you know, themes game modes or whatever it was. Like I think they'll definitely enjoy that stuff.
Yeah,
but I think that you're only tapping into that market. I think at that point.
I think the current state of Werewolf Online has like only a specific percent of people who really want to go into ranked, like go play competitively. And really many players, that's at least the route of the developers, that they take the cosmetics so high. They really want to focus on cosmetics, which is kind of a shame in my opinion. And I would say like
that's what the people are actually. What the majority want. They want skins. Yeah,
that's the thing.
That's why they're doing it in the first place.
That's why I call this game werewolf dating.
But listen, like, you know, but we have talked about this, or you know, you've talked about it, and I think I've talked about it as well, and I've always maintained that cosmetics are really necessary for Werewolf Online. They drive the revenue. They drive principally all of the revenue that comes. Not all of it, obviously we've got ads and stuff like that, but other things. They keep ads out of the game to the extent that they're in there. And for the most part, they just keep things looking good. Like, new skins are cool. We like the game looking as good as it possibly is, and of course it drives revenue. But I think the important thing from that is that if you are going to drive revenue you know, you can use that revenue to make more skins and continue to drive revenue further. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, using that revenue to do something interesting, and, you know, I literally can't make any guesses about what goes on behind the scenes, and it would be very disrespectful for me to do so. But, like, if, you know, and I'm just imagining myself as a game developer, but, you know, if I had money coming in, I might, you know, pay influencers, or I might hire some people to run a social media like a YouTube account to make videos, or I might invest on more music, or I might invest on more people to help with programming certain things to make the game different and to get players up so that you can make more money from cosmetics and stuff like that, or maybe invest in advertising. You know, there's so much to be done, I'm sure. And, you know, of course, we can't guess about any of that. But I think if it were me, that's what I would be doing. And that's why I'm perfectly happy for masses of cosmetics to be added to the game, so long as they're used to positively influence the game rather than to just generate an endless circle of revenue from cosmetics. Because I don't think that that's very loyal to the players if that's the case.
Yeah, I've the
Well,
same
cosmetic,
opinion. Actually.
there is a cosmetic market pretty much. So what you're saying about markets, of course, there's people that you are catering to. You're catering to people that like to have lots of skins, like, and of course there are other people who don't really care about the skins. So you also need to cater to them as well. What do they want? Of course, they want gameplay, of course. So I think there's this one topic, I guess, that I want to cover, which is the tutorial, the current tutorial. I guess this is the newer tutorial, but I don't think this tutorial actually teaches anyone as much on how to play the game in depth. I think, of course, like some YouTubers, of course, maybe you, Hypo, you're good at teaching people how to play the game, like how to play as, for example, how to play as a troll.
Because it gets them views.
I think
yeah.
More people like should be able to contribute to like make their own tutorials, like, for example, why you should be claiming RV on the first day in ranked or something, but it's basically something that will not make the community angry. Like, there are some people who are angry that they are losing every single game because of these players, and they just need something that will teach them how to play the game so they don't basically ruin the game for them as well. You get what I mean?
I started a series doing this, how to get to Platinum League, and it still gets views, and I still kick myself that I haven't made more of them. I had another one planned, which was supposed to be how to stop the fool, and it was going to be more stuff like, you know, what RRV to claim,
I remember.
what to claim, where. Yeah, and, you know, it was really popular, and people said stuff like, you know, this is really helpful, like, this is exactly what I was looking for. If the game had something integrated like that.
Yeah, that would really help.
But you need to pay someone to do that. It couldn't be me, because I'm not, you know, I make YouTube videos for fun. I'm not a professional. And, you know, maybe it's...
But you're getting paid. Like, you're getting paid for the YouTube videos. You're getting revenue from that, aren't you?
Yuch is not getting revenue. He could if he get, like... I know Yuch is, like, in my opinion, good enough to get 1,000 subscribers easily, but you should just be more consistent on YouTube.
Yeah,
Your videos are really great.
Enough. Yeah, I just don't upload enough, basically. I'm not dedicated enough to it, but it's something that I really regret. To anyone who might be watching this that watches me as well, I do regret it. And I
guess if the Werewolf devs pay you guys, would you do some good content to actually boost Werewolf Online? I guess that's kind of, yeah.
All right, so Felneus, what are you saying? If we got a job, would we do the job?
Yeah.
Yes, especially when it's very much associated with my hobby. Because the biggest problem that I have right now, especially with the WWOCS, is it didn't generate as much as revenue that I thought it would in the first place. And, you know, there's still things to work out, like such as possible sponsorships and stuff. But the problem is that it is still very much a hobby. So if you ever want, as a developer, people to do that and like generate and drive interest for your game full time, then of course, you know, they have to actually be getting something out of it. Otherwise, it stays a hobby for them as well. And, you know, I'm looking for a job right now. I'm like in the middle of interviewing for loads of things. So the WWS is going to be affected by that. And I'm sure that Hyper in the future for you as well, that might happen. You might have less time to do videos because you're working or doing something else.
Yeah, that's already gonna happen like really soon. Well, not work, but I have like I have my thesis in June.
Oh man.
And well, I've actually I've made a deal with my mother because we are going to move in 2022 to another place. So I got a deal with my parents that if I finish my studies in the third year, so basically in June, then I get a free year after that. So I have a full year then to almost a full year to make videos and stuff. But that's like the thing I'm going for at the moment.
But you also have to like do something that's going to help you in like the long-term future.
Yeah, and after
during that
yeah,
time,
that
right?
after that, when we move, then I have to work, of course. So then it's gonna be way more difficult to find the time to make a huge guide, for example.
I mean, it goes around in circles, really. The reason why our tasks as YouTubers are so difficult is because, you know, it's hard to make content for this game. It's hard to draw in viewers because, you know,
Yeah.
there's not enough interest on YouTube. You do just one, what is it called? I use a tool called TubeBuddy, and it tells you how much interest certain keywords related to what you do drives. And like, you know, Wealth Online picks up almost no interest across the board,
Yes, I've seen that
relatively
as well.
speaking. So it's like you might as well forget about it if you wanted to become a big YouTuber. So, you know, the danger is, what if Hyper makes a video that is about Mario Kart and it blows up and he gets 500,000 views?
Then
He's
I'm
gonna
gone.
make more of those videos. He's gone. He's out of here, guys. And that's, you know, maybe alienate his initial audience, but it's not gonna matter to him if he gets like 10,000 subscribers like in an instant or something.
Yeah,
So,
that's the whole problem with Werewolf Online at the moment on the market, because I I don't have any growth actually anymore on my YouTube. My YouTube is really trending. It's going downwards. Like, I just uploaded a video a few hours ago, but the views are, I think they are low at the moment.
hard to come by nowadays.
Yeah, my revenue is also decreasing in the last few months. I used to get like 300 subscribers per month back in April or March when the lockdown was just there. But in 2019 it was a consistent 100, 200, and now it's around 70 only. And
Yeah.
that might even drop further because it's still dropping. And
And well, we have to consider something. Why is hypostein? How do I say your name? Can you please tell me?
hypostein, yes.
Okay, I have been getting it right. Why is Hyperstein making Future of Wealth Online videos, and why is he talking about what needs to change in Wealth Online?
Yeah,
Just take it back another 30 seconds to what he was talking about. He's not getting subscribers for this game anymore, and that's not because his video quality is going worse. In reverse, it's getting a lot better from what I've seen. Like, it gets better all the time. The problem is that Wealth Online interest is dropping. So
Yes.
nobody wants to watch the. No, I won't say nobody, but no one new is coming to watch the videos, which is why you're only getting 70 subscribers at a time rather than maybe 500 at a time.
It's so frustrating because I'm constantly, when I'm not like, in the last few weeks before the holidays, I was really busy with my study, so I didn't have really mind space to think about YouTube. But when I do have mind space to think about YouTube, it's always keeping busy. Should I continue making Werewolf Online videos? Because I know the interest is not going to, it's not going to be blowing up anytime soon, probably. Like, I only see the game going down, actually. And couldn't I better invest my time in another game, for example, if necessary, on a different channel? Because, yeah, that's also something I always question myself. If I would pick another game, would I do it on another channel, or would I do it on my main channel?
Well, if you want to completely alienate your audience, then you have to do that. But unfortunately, when you're not getting views anyway, what's the point in being worried about that when you're alienating an audience that's already dwindling?
Yeah, that's true.
But hey, I mean, it's a pretty bleak topic to be talking about, and it is about the future of Wealth Online, so I guess it's related. I don't know how much of it you'll put into the video, because all of it's quite like personal to how our channels work and everything. But I don't mind anything, basically, just based on what you want. But what I will say is that on my stream recently, I've been focusing on stuff that's not Wealth Online, and my viewers who watch me regularly on Twitch have just continued to watch. Like, my streams have done pretty well. I think that
helps.
if I had, yeah, you know, if I had, and it's all about where your brand lies. If your brand is Wealth Online, then, you know, you're going to struggle. Whereas if your brand is you, people will follow you no matter what. So I think if you were gonna make a transition of that sort, it would be more about just slowly shifting your brand into being content about more centered around yourself rather than like specifically explaining Werewolf Online content every time.
That is something I should really do actually next year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because I play a variety of games myself, and I don't want to just play Werewolf Online. I want to play stuff that I actually like to play and get my viewers to also play the same games, so I can actually play with them as well.
But yeah, you've essentially founded like a small community, but at the same time the community is based on the game. And for you, like, yeah, you're saying you basically wouldn't have gotten into it. And I'm not saying that I had an initial love for Werewolf Online, absolutely.
I also did.
I played it so much over the last Christmas period. Like, so this time last year, I was just absolutely hooked on it, and that's what drove me to start playing Werewolf Online on stream. And I started making Werewolf Online YouTube videos. But there was another side to that. It's because I believed that I could tap into a sort of market there, and like it has worked to an extent. People have wanted to watch my videos, and I've done it while sort of honing my YouTube skills as well. So I'm better at editing now, and I'm better at talking on camera than I was before, just through working with Werewolf Online. But there's always another side to it. As if you're a YouTuber, like, you're not only thinking about these are the videos I want to make, you're thinking about these are the videos I should make if I want to do better. There's always two sides to it.
It's also something that I have not really considered when I started my YouTube channel. I actually initiated to have a multi-gaming channel, which I know is not really the best idea usually, but if you do it around personality, then it could work, of course. And I didn't keep up with it. Like, if I would still have uploaded like 3 different games consistently, then okay, my channel would definitely be smaller, but it would be way easier for me to omit a game like Werewolf Online at some point and go on with the other games, or pick up another game and people would still watch it.
I guess the point to be taken for us, at least personally, is that like the reason why we're discussing something like the future of Werewolf Online, and where things are going, is because we're not really sure if Werewolf Online is the future for any of us, and it concerns us very much because it's actually what we do as a hobby. I mean, I spent so much time in the WWOCS, and it's actually been an extremely amazing experience builder for me.
Yeah, it has been really fun to watch as well.
People are always asking me, are you gonna keep playing are you gonna keep making a WWOCS? When's it coming next? And the answer to that is I don't know, because it's been so much work, and if I don't see myself to have got like something big enough out of it, then unfortunately for the viewers, it's hard to actually continue with something like that. I can't give too much away about that.
Well, if you get another, hopefully in the future you're not going to be the only streamer for Werewolf Online. There's going to be more people, and again, they can, I guess, take your place. They can do the WWOCS as well.
Is there anything else that we have? I mean, this is very much a plug, sure, but
the tournaments section.
Let's talk about competitive Werewolf Online in a way that's not me just blatantly advertising what I do.
But I think I also included the tournaments because for some reason I don't really watch a lot of esports. The only esports thing I watch is your tournament, but I don't watch any other esports event. And I know it's a big scene. I know a lot of people actually watch esport events. So the tournaments have proven to be something good for games. Like they keep people playing. People want to become better, or they want to play with their idol, or they want to play with like a really good player.
They want to be as good as the top players.
Yeah,
basically.
they want to be.
They look up to them.
Yeah, they look up to them. And currently there's really nothing in Werewolf Online, besides maybe the leaderboards in Ranked, to look up at.
Yeah, that was precisely what I was thinking when I made it.
Yeah.
I was like, I want to show people what the top of Werewolf Online looks like. The first hurdle was like making a format that actually allows people to show that they're the best, and then the second hurdle was actually running a tournament. They were gigantic hurdles, and not ones that have always been, I can't say that it's been done perfectly, but at least to the best of my ability. And I think that in terms of people saying, oh, I recognize this guy from WWOCS, I recognize that player, oh, I know this person, they're really good. Like, it has actually worked out in that sense. And I think if you were just a regular ranked player who doesn't really know if there's anything in it for them if they get better at the game, now, if you look at it and you think, right, well, if I get really good at this game, I could enter the next WWOCS and I could win, and it would be really cool because I'd be known as the winner. That's basically the eventual aim of any esports tournament in a game that's promotional.
Do you think it would be worth for the developers to pay you to host the tournament? Like,
can you imagine me saying no to this question? Can you imagine?
Well, you would say yes, but would it be worth for them to invest in a tournament like your tournament?
Okay, before I say anything else, Hypostein is the one that asked the question. I didn't tell him to say this. So the fact that I'm talking about this has absolutely nothing to do with what I want. It's just something that Hypostein wanted to ask me.
Yes.
Moving on. Moving on. I, being brutally honest, think that it absolutely depends on the numbers. It depends on what promotional content actually does for the game. In my original pitch and my original ideas, the WWOCS was an idea that is going to basically promote competitive Werewolf Online not only to the players but to other people as well, and I think it's definitely achieved both of those aims. But if it has not really affected those numbers at all, then there's no real point, in paying someone like me to do this. There is a flip side to it. For example, for me, motivation is a thing, and money's very good motivation for somebody who's unemployed. So there is an absolute limit to what I've done for the WWOCS, given that it is just a hobby. I have other things to work on, and I could have been spending hours a day working on new content every day, trawling through old streams, going for highlights, making new promotional stuff, all of maybe even spending money on theme tunes, on graphics, anything like this, and that all just generates more hype. But if there's no competitive integrity in a game to begin with, then there is definitely not as much point to that. So I mean, obviously I want to be careful what I say, but essentially it depends on the numbers, I think, and it depends on the results. And I never expect to be really paid for anything that I'm doing, because I don't actually believe that I've affected the game in like a massively dramatic way, although that is the aim of the WWOCS. But
but you're just in your first season, right? So it's like, of course, the first season is like usually it's in many things the best season for some reason. Like, it's the most authentic, I think, or when it's gonna be the second season, people are gonna compare it to the first season and stuff. You get stuff like that. But I think if you have like 5 seasons and we are at the end of 2021, then it would be, you could definitely say if it has had a certain impact on the game or not.
That's true. And this season has been really, really not practice, but it's been what am I trying to say? It's been like kind of like a test run in a way. Like, there are lots of things that have happened where we've been like, we should never have done this, or like there are lots of things which we didn't do, which is like, we wish we'd done this. And there's lots of things that we've learned how to do better, and lots of things that we know we need to do better. And I don't think anyone could have expected all of us to be like perfect the first time, but it's definitely true that it's improving. And if there was another season, it would be like there probably lots of things that would change and we'd build on. So yeah, as you say, it's hard to tell, having just run it for a month and a half, how much it will have affected competitive Werewolf Online. But I think if there's the support for it from the developers, and there is real support for ranked and competitive Werewolf Online in general, and there's a base for people to watch ranked play and be like, that's what I'm going to do now, and it's fun when you actually get into doing it, then yeah, absolutely, I think it would be really worth having the WWOCS.
So if you have like, Twitch, you're probably way more familiar with Twitch than I am, but
I do know
you have you have the recommended streams on the left of your screen, right?
True.
So,
yeah.
to what kind of audience do you think that you appear as the recommended streamer with WWCS?
Well, there's a category actually called esports, which, you know, having built up a brand over this year, like next year, I definitely want to head into trying to enter the WWOCS into that. It may get in, it may not. They may think it's not good enough of an esport or it's not professional enough. But I hope that we've created something that is professional enough for them to say, yeah, this is a real esport, let's put it on there. There are all sorts of interesting mobile games on there, so it wouldn't be that weird for Werewolf Online to make it there. And then, so to answer your question, what type of viewers are going to watch that content? It's people who are looking for something new to get into competitively, because there's always people that want to be the best at something, but
Yes.
they haven't figured out what it's going to be yet. So they're going to try out playing Rocket League, and then they go, I don't really want to play this game for that long because I got bored of it. I don't think I could play this until I'm grand champion. Or they might play League of Legends for 2,000 hours, and they'll be like, nah, I can't do this because I don't like this aspect of the game. But they will also see an esport called the WWOCS, and they'll be like, well, this looks interesting. Like, people play this competitively. Let me give this a try. And then they realize they have to download a mobile game, and they're like, nah, okay, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So, there you go, basically. But that's essentially the type of people that would be aimed at in that setting.
Something that I also have in mind that could also affect the game negatively is this is a totally different topic actually, but the design or the aesthetics, like it's very colorful, and I think people associate it with like a childish game sometimes.
What do you think about this, Felneus? I have some views, but what do you think?
I know Werewolf Online is definitely competitive enough. I mean, I've played Town of Salem ranked as well. I mean, sorry, I keep going back to that, but it's and also I guess chess is kind of also as I guess you've seen in your digest. You've obviously explained how chess is like very very similar to Werewolf Online. I totally agree with that.
To touch on the aesthetics part though, let's talk about that a little bit, because people like the aesthetics in Werewolf Online that play it, like, but the thing is, you know, what really sells is amongst like a mass market these days is kind of like an anime aesthetic, right? And Werewolf Online,
Yes.
a lot of the skins has that, but the real miss that they're doing is, like, in order to sell the skins, they're making like the default stuff really terrible. And anyone who gets into the game and wants to have a cool skin straight away, it's just not going to happen unless they just immediately throw money. And so they'll log in and they'll have that, you know, the default skin, and they'll be like, this is my guy, like, this is what I have to look like.
Yeah.
I don't like this at all. I look like a child. I look like a child with some weird eyes that's staring at me, and he won't leave me alone, and it scares me. You know, that's what they, you know, and you get a 23-year-old grown man such as myself trying to play the game, and they enjoy it, but that's just me. But others perhaps might get into the game and they'll be like, oh, this looks really cool competitively, and then they log in, oh, that's my guy, this is kind of a bit of a kid's game, isn't it? And then they're out of there again straight away.
Yeah.
Of course, children are probably the biggest market for mobile games and gaming in general, so there's no real mistake with that. But, you know, in the same way, kids play like Call of Duty, which is like a grown-up looking blood all over the place shooting game. They'll play anything, really.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I suppose depends on what market you're targeting, I suppose.
I think many werewolf games have more darker colors.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm
True.
wrong, but
No, they do. Yeah. Dark colors, like mysterious tones.
yeah. So in that extent, Werewolf Online is unique, but maybe they should also use the dark colors. I don't know. It's like it's
Well,
kind of a debate, but
the design aesthetic that Werewolf Online goes for is the village is peaceful, everything is nice, but there are werewolves among us. But
Yeah.
you know, don't worry about it too much. We're in the village, the music's nice, everything's going to be happy. Do your best, and then the mystery starts. The mysterious music starts, etc., etc., and it gets dark during the game. Whatever. Like, other games start with the premise of like, this is dark, Werewolf Online, mysterious. You're going to get murdered if you come into this game. Watch out,
Yes.
watch out, watch out. Like, you know, everything's really dark and mysterious straight away. And I think that specific nature to Werewolf Online actually makes it quite successful. I think people like to play games that don't make them feel like scared and depressed straight away. Like, they like to have a little happy jingle and other stuff like that. But you know, you can go too far with it if you're trying to go into the mainstream market, and that's what we talk about when we talk about like childish graphics. You know, large proportion of kids don't want to play something that looks childish because they want to be grown up, and adults won't even touch it. So realistically, we're the weird ones for being adults and playing Werewolf Online.
The childish game.
Yeah. But, you know, aesthetics, should they change? Should they change in order to make the future of Werewolf Online greater? Clearly, it's impossible right now for them to do that.
Yeah.
Can anybody tell me why? If not, I'll go ahead and just say it's quite clearly because all of the skins are based off of one default avatar. You cannot change the avatar without the skins, unfortunately. And that is just a hole that I think they may have just fallen into and just been like, well, this is our life now. We can't change this. Maybe they're making a PC game with different aesthetics and it's got the name Werewolf in it. Maybe that's what's going on. But
maybe, yeah, we don't know. We can speculate, but...
Should we do a little wrap-up segment then?
Yes.
It was a real pleasure to take part in this podcast today. I really enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking with you, hypostein, about Werewolf Online stuff in general. I think that we think really similarly. And yeah, let's just keep working as a community. Let's keep doing some cool stuff and see where it goes.
We can shape the future of Werewolf Online.
Exactly. We are the influencers. We have power, okay?
Yeah. It's not about the developers, it's about us.
What we want, we get. Exactly. Yeah. Probably not, but there we go.
Get.
I want to go eat some food. Okay. And just at that moment, it gets cold for us.
Yeah, oh my god.
Love it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Alright, catch you later, man. Bye, guys.
If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe to the channel and especially check out Sir Felneus and Huge. Sir Felneus is the mastermind behind the Werewolf Berserk and the Marksman role, and Huge is a content creator who makes Werewolf Online content as well. Huge also has an amazing Twitch channel, like me, and who knows, you might see us collaborate over there in the near future. He also hosts the Werewolf Online Championship Series, which is an esports league for the top players of Werewolf Online. So if you'd like to see master commentary over master plays, give him a follow. All links of us three will be in the description. Also, shout out to my members Violette, Angus Vidishima, Jochem Vis, Ahmed Herzan, A and Ahmed Serkan. Thank you so much for the support. For now though, I will see you later and don't be a traitor. Goodbye. Thank you.